The Chiefs Instant Reaction post-game show is live. Brendan Dzwierzynski and Dan Lucero here with you on this first Sunday of December, and it's a little bit different than normal for the Kansas City Chiefs. Their winning streak comes to a close at 5 games. They fall to 9-3 on the year with a 27-24 defeat at the hands of the Cincinnati Bengals. We will get to every single element of this game: defensive lapses, offense not coming through, some interesting coaching decisions. I think that is fair to say, especially with a field goal attempt at the end of the game that eventually was missed by Harrison Butker. But let's start with big takeaways, Dan. What about this game stands out the most to you as the biggest reason why the Bengals, for the third time in a row, came out on top of the Chiefs?
Their defense made plays, and the Chiefs' defense really didn't. I think especially in the second half, that's what you saw that was the difference, where I won't say the Chiefs' defense made no plays. Carlos Dunlap would take exception to that. His play at the end of the first half was massive and kept the Chiefs from going into the locker room, in all likelihood, down by 2 scores, down by 11 points when he made that play on 4th and 1. But when it came time for the Chiefs in the second half to make a play, to halt a drive, to force a punt on that final drive to get the ball back, I mean, you love the Chiefs' chances, even if the Bengals kick a field goal there on that final possession. If you get a stop on that last third down, or on the third down that Jamar Chase converts, you get the ball back. Even if McPherson hits the field goal, you get the ball back, and you got a touchdown to win the game with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. You feel great. You feel like that can happen because it's happened before. And you don't even give Mahomes and the offense that chance because you can't get off the field. And that's the thing that's going to frustrate, especially with members of that defense doing a little bit of talking in the media this past week, and they didn't walk the walk. It was a very poor tackling game. It was not a real good game from the front four. Only 1 sack at Joe Burrow. Steve Spagnuolo tried everything, and nothing worked to get pressure on Burrow, who also seems to turn into Michael Vick against the Chiefs. He just seems to have a little extra gear, extra escapability in the pocket. I don't know where that comes from, but that was what it came down to. The Bengals made that play to force the Chiefs to try a 55-yard field goal instead of continue a drive and try and take a lead. They made a play in the red zone in the first half that kept the Chiefs from answering Cincinnati's early touchdown, DJ Reader knocking down that pass. They made plays on money downs, and the Chiefs did not defensively. That to me was the biggest difference.
Yeah, it just felt like the overall theme, the overall word of the day is disappointment, because it felt like there were opportunities out there for the Chiefs to get off the field defensively or make something else happen offensively. Speaking of the offense, the play that the Bengals made to get Mahomes down to the ground going into that missed field goal by Butker, and the clip is out there. You can find it on social media right now. Jerick McKinnon was open in the flat, man. He was open left sideline in the flat. Does he get the first down? Who's to say? Bengals might come up, make a great tackle, but that's the reason you have a player like Jerick McKinnon, because on 3rd and short in space, you trust that jitterbug, scat back, third down back guy is going to make someone miss and get the first down. Mahomes just missed it. And that's not to say this is all on Patrick Mahomes. It's not. I don't think he was necessarily good. He certainly wasn't bad in the game, just sort of pedestrian, which is so far below standard. It really jumps out
by
at
his
you,
by his standards, he was pedestrian. He made the big touchdown run on 4th down in the second half, but unfortunately in the fourth quarter, there were a couple of drives that were left on the field. One of them absolutely not his fault. Travis Kelce, kind of a no-show today. Very rare that he no-shows. Very rare that he is a negative factor for the Chiefs. Today he was.
And it's one of those examples, too, where stats can be misleading. Like Kelce last week had 4 for 56, 4 catches, 56 yards, but it felt like he was impacting the game more. He felt like a no-show in this game. And they even brought it up on the broadcast, like, hey, this does not feel like a normal Travis Kelce game. And then the fumble, too, at the very end. That's obviously costly. And getting to the defensive side of things, too, I mean, I don't know what exactly you point to. Was it coaching? Was it game plan? Was it following the scout? Was it just toughness? But in the end, I think the play at the very end, the Bengals got that final first down. They were able to kneel it out. That third down pass was the microcosm of the game. And we have the screen grab right here. Jeff Schwartz, the media member, former offensive lineman, obviously brother of Chiefs great Mitchell Schwartz, puts this on Twitter. You've got 4 Chiefs in the area outside the numbers with 2 blockers and Jamar Chase with the ball. And somehow Jamar Chase goes about 6 yards and is able to convert 5 yards, 5.5, whatever it was, to get the first down. There is no reason, Dan, in that moment, you should allow that guy to get there. You've got them outnumbered 4-3. And at the time this shot was grabbed from the CBS broadcast, only one dude is being blocked. Two are right on top of each other with a chance to bring him down. That just, to me, sums up what this game was for the Chiefs. Not getting off the field when they needed to, not making the tough play when they needed to. And in the end, if you're the Bengals, they were talking all game. I mean, all freaking game. The Bengals were talking right down to the very first touchdown of the contest. But they get to talk, man, because they were the better team. They were the tougher team, even with some shiesty officiating. Yes, that was absolutely part of things in the first half. But in the end, the Bengals made more plays than the Chiefs did. And sometimes that's all football boils down to.
Yeah, and particularly defensively. This should be a very humbling plane ride home for the Chiefs defense, because they did not make a play in the second half that would have given the Chiefs an opportunity. They gave up well over 400 yards on offense. They forced one punt, one all day. That's not going to cut it. And again, give them credit where it's due for the goal line stand into the first half. That was a big play in the game, and it really kept the game feeling close. You felt like the Chiefs were going to, seize the momentum, and ultimately they did. They had to lead, and they had to lead with the ball, 4-point lead with the ball in the fourth quarter. And you felt like, all right, this is where they take care of business. And that Kelsey fumble, again, that's a defense making a play. That is the Bengals defense deciding, we're going to go make a play. We're going to go turn this game on its ear. We're going to go get our offense back out on the field. And the Bengals did that, and the Chiefs did not. That's the difference. That was a toughness. That was a physical difference in this game. And it's not that the Chiefs aren't capable of that. It's not that I look at their roster and I see that they've got a bunch of guys are just full of making plays. That safe group ought to be embarrassed. That front four ought to be chastened by the way that they played. The linebacking core did not make the kind of plays. Like Nick Bolton was invisible. They were not good against the run. Samaje Perine's picking up 5 yards a carry, and that's not a great running scheme. It's not a great running team. It's not a great offensive line. It's good. It's not great. It should not have been as one-sided as it was in the trenches in this game. So this should humble the Chiefs, and maybe they needed humbling a little bit. Sometimes over the course of a 17-game season, you just don't have your A game. You just don't play your best. You get out physical. You get out muscled. You get outplayed, and either it makes you better or you don't learn the lesson from it. You keep yapping. I think the Chiefs are a well-coached and veteran enough team that I think they'll take the right lessons from this game. But this is going to be a very frustrating plane ride home. Some random expletives, the 30,000 feet over, I don't know, Des Moines, or I don't know what the flight path is from Cincinnati to Kansas City. I'm not looking at a map. But yeah, there's going to be some frustration on that plane ride home, no question.
I hate to self-roast my beloved Jayhawks, represented by the helmet up here, because this is a great day for KU football getting the bid to the Liberty Bowl. But Samaje Perine saw Kansas somewhere on the schedule and said, yeah, I'm going off. Oh, yeah, that feels good. I'm going off when I see that team. And, I mean, he was really good in this game. He ended up going over 100 yards on just 21 carries for the game. I think it was 21 for 106. I mean, he was effective. Joe Burrow was making plays. It's things like that. Like, Burrow can move, but he's not a runner. You make the Michael Vick comparison. I don't even think he's like a prime Aaron Rodgers runner where he doesn't have to do it, but if called upon, he can't. I don't really think of Burrow in that regard. He's got functional pocket mobility. Only against the Chiefs. It is just something about that matchup. And I want to get specifically talking about matchups to the front four, which you mentioned. They were silent in this game, man. They got into the backfield again. 1 sack in the game. That's back-to-back appearances against the Bengals. One, obviously more important last year in the playoffs, although this game carries a lot of importance too, against a not great offensive line. This year, it's more mediocre. Last year, it was just straight up bad for the Bengals. I mean, the week before to the Titans, they'd given up 9 sacks, and they just weren't able to get home and make plays. And I think, to me, this defense, the biggest fears that I had, or the biggest potential concerns I had about how this game could go, came to life. And it was the pass rush disappeared after it had been really good, especially in second halves over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks. It disappeared when you needed them to be there the most. And the last play, when Burrow converted the pass to T. Higgins to seal things, it kind of looked like the pass rush just sort of stopped. Like, hey, he's still standing and he's still trying to throw. I'm not sure what happened there.
Either Mike Dana took a bad step, or he just kind of gave up on the play. Maybe he was, I've seen some people say maybe he was surprised he got in the backfield because he hadn't gotten in the backfield all game. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but yeah, that was weird. It almost looked like he thought there was a whistle. Like when I was watching it live and I had my eye on, I happened to be watching Dan, I'm watching the pass rush, and my thought was there a whistle? And maybe there should have been, because if the left tackle, Jonah Williams, is allowed to false start every play for the Bengals, that's a huge advantage for their offense. That's a big advantage. If their left tackle can get a kick step every single snap and it not get flagged, that was surprising. We didn't see at least one false start flag on Jonah Williams, because this sure looked like he was getting a head start the entire second half, at least. But yeah, weird play and a weird way to end it. But I want to go to something that is also true about that play. Joe Burrow made a great throw. The coverage really couldn't have been better from Joshua Williams. And if there's one positive I think you can take away from this game, is that Joshua Williams and Trent McDuffie were pretty damn good. They held their own against Jamar Chase and against T. Higgins in man coverage situations. And a lot of those deep sideline fades, plays that killed the Chiefs against the Bengals last year, those were not there for the Bengals this time around, because McDuffie and Williams played really, really well on the outside. We talked about it on 580 Sports Talk, how they were going to hold up in this matchup. And I think the early returns were extremely positive for those guys. If you want to feel good about something as a Chiefs fan, it's knowing that you've got some building blocks, it looks like, a cornerback, not just guys who are starters in this league. McDuffie might be a rare, like, top tier type cornerback in this league. The way that he played on the outside, those big plays were really non-factors. And so that's the one thing I think, if you want to feel good about something as a Chiefs fan, it'd be to play those two guys.
Really quickly, because we'll get back to this, because that's a really good point that I wanted to get to as well. But if you're watching this live, or maybe you haven't seen any other NFL news before you come to the post-game show, just some breaking NFL news. Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the season for the San Francisco 49ers. Broke his foot against the Dolphins. It's time for the rocket ship in San Francisco. Brock Purdy is starting the rest of the season for them. So,
hey, they just beat the Dolphins with Brock Purdy running the show.
They did. They sure did. But to the point about the defensive backs, I think there were a couple moments where you saw, like, yeah, these are all pro caliber receivers against really young corners. But I thought so too. I thought McDuffie played really tough. I thought Joshua Williams, who, fourth round pick, played D2 ball. Like, he got thrown into the fire this year due to some personnel issues, but he has stepped up and been really darn good. He feels a little bit to me like second year Charvarius Ward, because that first year, remember, he played against the Seahawks and really struggled in coverage, and we're like, okay, yeah, who's this dude? But second year is like, dang, he just kind of week after week makes a lot of solid plays. And that's sort of what Joshua Williams feels like to me. A little bit unsung, but I think there's definitely something there as your number 2 boundary guy. Obviously, Trent McDuffie had a lot of hype coming into this year as a first round pick. There's a reason that the first dude that Joe Burrow dapped up when that game was over was Trent McDuffie. And you could tell they had sort of a mutual respect thing. I don't know how much mutual respect was on that field at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, because those dudes do not like each other. And you can tell that from the very beginning. But I thought that was something, or at least somewhat meaningful, that Burrow dapped up Trent McDuffie from the very beginning. And to that point, just about, I don't know if you can really call it bad blood, but obviously some personality clashes, I think, between these two teams. That's the kind of thing, if you're the Chiefs, you have to keep in the back of your mind if this ends up being a playoff matchup again. Because guess what? The Bengals are not out of it for that number 1 seed. I think they're going to end up winning their division, even though the Ravens also won, beating that hapless Broncos team on Sunday. The Bengals are right in the mix. They're, I think, going to be in the mix until the very end. They play Buffalo. Yeah, that's going to be the next biggest game on their schedule. They could very possibly meet this Chiefs team again in the postseason. And if you're the Chiefs, we were hoping that after last year's 2 games, all right, fix the tackling issues, fix some of the toughness stuff, some of the decision-making, whatever, we'll rebound. And then in this week 13 game this year, the Chiefs are going to come out on top. We both picked the Chiefs to win on the show on Friday on 580 Sports Talk. And I was telling my wife the entire time, Chiefs are going to come back and win. They still got a chance. They're going to come back and make this happen. And it just fell flat. If this happens again, it's so many of the same issues we've seen in the past in these matchups. Be prepared for it next time, because it sort of felt like the Chiefs weren't for this game.
Yeah, we thought they'd come out like a house of fire, and then the defense just got rolled on that first drive of the game and gave up the touchdown drive, and that was kind of a prelude for the rest of the contest as far as how that defense performed, which was really substandard, particularly up front, particularly at the safety spot, particularly when it came to tackling. Offensively, they had the They had the drive that ended in a field goal, their first drive. But I'll tell you, offensively, they got to feel good about how they ran the ball today. Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon ran the ball really effectively. I think they can feel good about how they ran the ball and gave the Bengals some different looks. So the Bengals can't just sit in that 3-down lineman. The Bengals, they brought some different looks to the table. They didn't just sit in 8-man drop. They brought some extra pressure, and Mahomes at times was really effective against that pressure, completed a couple of deep balls against that pressure. So that chess match there is ongoing, and the Chiefs certainly don't leave this game feeling like, I think as a whole, they don't leave that game feeling like the Bengals are an unsolvable problem. It's like when you fight, you ever play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
Oh, yeah.
They're Mr. Sandman. Like, Mr. Sandman's legit. Mr. Sandman takes a little stick skill to be. He's not Mike Tyson at the end where he hits you with one uppercut and you're done. It's Mr. Sandman. Like, it takes, you got to have some skill. You got to have a plan, and you got to execute it, or you can't get got. And that's where the Chiefs sit with the Bengals right now. They're the bogey team. But certainly the Chiefs should not feel like, oh, this is an unsolvable problem. Oh, man, we can't do anything with these guys. Oh, man, they've got our number. No, the Chiefs should feel like three-point losses to the same team. God, Bucker makes that kick. It's a different game. I was certain the Chiefs would win before the Kelsey fumble. And then I started to feel like, man, this could be trouble. But I still thought they would win, honest to goodness. Honest to goodness, I still thought they would win before Chase picked up that first down on that 3rd and 6. I still thought the Chiefs were going to find a way to win that game. I really did. And testament to how good they are and how close together these two teams are, that it's come down to essentially a kick each of the last 3 meetings. And it's frustrating for the Chiefs, but it's humbling, and they should learn from this. And I would suspect that they will regroup. I would not want to be the Denver Broncos next Sunday. That is not going to be a real fun time, I don't think, for a Bronco team that just lost to Tyler Huntley at the buzzer. And from here, the schedule is really favorable for the Chiefs. They should win out. They should feel like, hey, look, we still kind of control our own destiny because nobody should beat us.
Mm-hmm. Nope, that's absolutely true. A couple things I want to get to just as we wrap things up. One, we're going international. Shout out to Nicholas in the 580 Sports on 580 YouTube comments with a little who day. Thank you for watching our Chiefs reaction show. Make sure you subscribe before you leave on YouTube. Also, I think this is a good summation of the point you just brought up that, hey, this Bengals team is not unbeatable. This is transcribed by our guy Jordan Foote over at Sports Illustrated, but post-game comments from Patrick Mahomes where effectively he says numerous reasons why they lost. But, when you play good teams, you make some mistakes, things happen. This isn't the end of the world. That's true. And I think that's the mindset this Chiefs team has to have so it doesn't spiral. Not that I believe it will, because like you said, this is a well-coached veteran team. But I do think that's an important mindset going into this next stretch of games where you are going to play the Raiders again. You're going to play a couple games against the Broncos. We looked at it on 580 Sports Talk the other day. Outside the Seahawks, the rest of this schedule is cake, relatively speaking, for this Chiefs team.
And the Seahawks had trouble with John Wolford today. Mm-hmm. I don't think that defense is going to have anything for Mahomes. They'll be able to name their score.
So to that point,
feels like 5 games
into those games.
Yeah, carry momentum into those games. Feels like it's 5 games you should win. And then, honestly, if the Bills win every game except the Bengals game, and the Chiefs win out, Chiefs get the number 1 seed. Joe Burrow could help this team get the number 1 seed. Wouldn't that be something?
Which is amazing to think about, but it is all still in front of them. We're going to break down this game even more from every single angle coming up on 580 Sports Talk Monday from 3 until 6. Matt Verderam of Fansided.com will join us to break down this game and the rest of the NFL weekend that was. And Jake and Fulton will have recap coverage for you as well on Mic'd Up from noon until 3. All that action coming up on Monday on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW. But until then, for Dan Lucero, I am Brendan Dzwierzynski. We'll talk to you on Monday as we recap a rare loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk to you all then.